Okay, so welcome to a new video. So I originally had this video planned as a kind of 20,000 subscriber special video, but I've not quite got there yet, and this video is ready to be made now, so I figured why not just make it now. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a kind of mini case study for a Christmas word search book that I created and released onto Amazon a few days ago. So that means obviously that I'm going to be showing you the actual book and the live listing for that book. But this isn't going to be a video that just shows off the book for the sake of it. There's going to be a load that goes into this that I want to cover that revolve around this book and selling in these type of niches. So inside this video, we're going to take a look at the book, obviously, and then from there, we're going to take a look at the 3 different versions of the cover that I had made for this book. So one was created by me in Canva, one was created by my designer in Canva, and the last one was fully illustrated by them as well. From there, we're going to take a look at the ad campaigns for this book that I've been running and how much money I've spent on that so far. Then from there, we're going to take a brief look at how I've managed to get the book ranked for its for the desired search term that I went for. And then more importantly, and we're going to touch upon this in just a second, is why these supposed hot niches aren't anywhere near as good as they're actually made out to be. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris. I've been self-publishing online for around 10 years, and I'm here to share that experience with you so that you don't waste your time with pointless publishing pursuits. So speaking of wasting your time, this is not a niche video. This is not me recommending that everyone goes out and creates Christmas word searches, because listen, like, this is anybody that's showing you or is promoting the idea of like a Christmas niche, like a word search or a coloring book or anything like that. This isn't as good as it's made out to be on the surface level, because this isn't a new niche. Like, this has been done so many times before. Like, people have found these niches long before you have. Like, there's nothing new, there's nothing important about them. Like, you could find these within 2 minutes of going onto Amazon, okay? And it's pretty obvious that a Christmas word search or a Christmas coloring book is going to be popular during Christmas, right? You don't need to watch a video to tell you that. The problem is that they're going to be popular and they're going to sell well for people that have listings that are on front pages of Amazon, okay? So if you're creating a book like this yourself and you're expecting to get your book ranked onto the first page, do you realistically think that 5,000 other books, or how many other books there are similar to yours, they're all going to sort of pave way and make room for yours onto the front page of Amazon? They're probably not going to. And for most people that create books in these niches, your books are going to get lost on Amazon and probably not ever see any sales. So you're just going to have to let me have my moment here, and I promise you I'm going to get to the good stuff. But this is still mega important going forward in any niche, because typically what you're going to see people do who, you know, make this look like an easy opportunity to make sales is they're going to come across to Amazon and they're going to search for something like Christmas word search. They're going to go through the front page of Amazon, show off how low the BSRs are, and then justify that as the reason as to why this is such a great niche to get into. And I'm sure it is a great niche. Like, you know, people are obviously buying lots of Christmas word searches toward Christmas and all types of Christmas books, right? And honestly, I do think this is a big problem, because people promoting the idea of easy sales in these niches, they're usually saying to you, look, if you use this popular multi-function tool, you can put your book together in it, you can create the book cover in it, just do all these things really quickly, and then you can shove it onto Amazon and start making sales. And I think, like, that's the easiest part of doing it, creating the content, finding the niche. Like, it's the easiest part. Getting found and actually having a good book to offer to people when you are being found is the big problem, and it's something people rarely talk about. Because, you know, that having a good book and being found is absolutely everything past the niche. Like, a niche alone isn't going to make you sales. You've got to be found. You've got to have a good book. Okay, so hopefully that this is what I'm going to show you, or try and show you, in this video with this Christmas word search that I've created. Okay, so I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to come and find my own book here by searching on Amazon in incognito mode, as we can see here. So the search term that I was trying to rank for and get found for, that I think has got traffic going to it, that likely has traffic going to it, is likely very competitive, is Christmas word search for adults. Okay, so I've not checked this for a couple of days, so I don't actually know if I'm still on the front page or not. But if we scroll past the sponsored listings, I'm not on them at the moment. If we just scroll down, this one here is my book. Okay, so don't ask me why I picked the author names that I do. They're stupid. They don't make any difference. You just don't want to you know, you don't want to use anyone else's author name, so that's why mine are so ridiculous. This is the book here. Like, it is a Christmas word search. It's a heavily competitive niche. Currently on the front page of it, but there's a lot more that goes into it than just what you see here. Okay, so that's part of the big problem, and I do have A+ content created for this, but I am a little bit ashamed of the way that I've done it. It's not particularly good, so by the time that you've searched for this book, it would probably be updated. Okay, so if I just scroll down past that, you're going to see the book is currently ranked at 52,000 in books here, obviously on Amazon.com, which is a great start. It's fine, but you know, this has been done in a very specific way of not just quickly put the book together and thoughtlessly just hoping that it's going to end up on Amazon on the front page here. Okay, so everything that I'm doing, there's a thought process behind it, and honestly, the way that I'm doing things that I'm going to show you in this video, for the last 10 books that I've created, I've managed to get found on the front page for every single book. Okay, so that's 100% of the time that I'm getting found on the front page for the search term that I've desired. Okay, so I'm going to get into that a little bit later on, but that's going to naturally lead me on to a big factor here when it comes to getting found in competitive niches like this is running ad campaigns. Okay, so I'm going to go into my ad campaigns account now and take a look at how much I've spent and the type of campaigns that I'm running. Okay, so I've just come over to my my ads dashboard here, and I've just filtered out my Christmas campaigns. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a lot of them. So this is going to lead me on to sort of 2 points here. One is to show off the ad campaigns, obviously, and you know, the other reason I touched upon is why these niches aren't that great for most people. So just quickly, let me rant just very quickly. So if someone's telling you to put a Christmas word search together using whatever popular multifunction tool, put it together really quickly, you make a bad cover, you shove it up on Amazon and hope it makes sales. So the reason that's not going to work for most people, we've established, is because of the competition, right? That it has to be taken in consideration that these books have a lot of competition. So with more competition in popular niches like this, you're going to have to do something to get found. And that is usually going to be by running ad campaigns or promoting your book somewhere. Okay, so because these books are so popular, so sought after at this time of year, the cost to run ads is expensive. Okay, so this is why this isn't such a great niche for everyone to get into, especially the way it's being promoted as, is because the ad campaigns will cost money. Okay, so this is the easiest way to get views to your book is by running ads. Basically, I think most people know that additional views is by running ads. Okay, so at the moment I'm spending around, I think it's like $50 I've spent. So I spent $50 to get the book ranked onto the first page. Then in future, like, I don't mind losing money at the moment. In future, I'm going to look at turning all of these ads off, or at least optimizing them to the point where they're not losing money. So I'm losing money at the moment. Okay, but I don't care at the moment if it loses money. And this has been a bit strange for me, because usually I only need to create like 2 or 3 campaigns to start getting impressions and clicks. But because it's so competitive and the click prices are so high for these type of books, I've had to run lots of different types of ad campaigns. So I've got manual product targeting or auto targeting. I'm actually even trying some to different physical products as well. So I'm trying all sorts here just to get cheaper clicks. And what's happened is that it's not easy to get cheap clicks in these type of niches. Okay, so I started at like 20 cents for some of these ad campaigns, moving all the way up to 80 cents was when I started getting the clicks to the book and the impressions. Okay, so as you can see from this one here, we got 6 sales from what is a manual campaign. So me just typing in Amazon's suggested keywords into the campaign box. And then Christmas 10 here, I'm so unorganized that I don't even recall what type of campaign this was. I'm going to quickly check. This is a product targeting campaign. Okay, so targeting my book against other people's books, which seems to be going quite well at the moment. Okay, so yeah, overall we've had $53 a spend, 63 clicks to 10 orders, which I think is quite good. Now the spend is high, the ACOS is high, because I am releasing the book at a break-even price. I'm going to get into that in just a moment, so don't worry about the pricing of the book at the moment. So for me, running ad campaigns at the start of your book's release is a necessity for getting found. So unless you're doing the whole like ultra niching down thing, you're probably not going to get found unless you run those ad campaigns. And I never recommend people run ad campaigns unless they are very confident with the book that they're producing. So if you're using an awful, if you're using a piece of software to help you create a book cover that doesn't look any good, or help create an interior that doesn't look any good, you need to think to yourself, like, are people gonna even buy it if you're running ad campaigns to it? Okay, so it's all well and good running these ad campaigns, but your book has to be desirable as well. Okay, so this is going to lead me into the next problem, and that is creating bad book covers yourself. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this section is to take a look at the 3 different covers that I've created. Sorry, at the 3 different covers that I've had created. And like I say, one of them was designed, well, one of them was put together by me in Canva, one of them was put together by my designer in Canva, and then this one here was the fully illustrated version that they did as well, obviously. Okay, so let's just come over to Canva and take a look at the 3 different designs. So design 1 is what I've created in Canva. Design 2 is what my designer had created in Canva. And design 3 is what they've fully illustrated. Okay, so that's obviously the one that I went for. So let's start with design 1. This is awful. This is the one that I created. I'm not going to do myself a disservice and say that I couldn't have done any better, because this was made in about 10 minutes, probably less actually. But it is just so typical of a Canva cover, isn't it? Like, you see these type of book covers all the time, and I just don't think they're good enough now. That there probably was a time where, like, you could get away with creating okay to bad covers, but that time is pretty much gone now. That I think you have to really focus, and I try in all my videos to put a real emphasis on having nice covers made. If you can't do it yourself, then you need to look at design 2, for example, which I think would be the type of design that you could get from Fiverr for like $15 to $20. So my designer made this herself in Canva using all the free elements, and I think she did a great job. There would be a couple of things that I would maybe change. I think I'd actually have put more emphasis on the word Christmas and have that larger than having it smaller. But the main elements are here, like it's the word search, it's large print. And I think she did a very, very good job here. The other option here is that you go fully illustrated, which is going to be the most expensive option. So this costs around, I think it was, for their hourly rate, was around $50 to $60, I think it was. And this is obviously the one that I went for. This is not, like, typically if I was creating this book myself, I would have something like this made here. Okay, so this was actually a bit of a risk for me because it doesn't really fall in line with the other type of Christmas word searches out there. So that could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. But I honestly, I think the cover looks gorgeous. I think she's done an incredible job with this. And I think the problem with, like, making designs like this here, especially the first 2, especially the first one, is that everyone has access to Canva for free and software like this. And it's so easy to tell when someone has created a book cover using Canva. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Canva. I love it. I use it a ton. But I'm saying is that just because you can create something quickly for a low cost, it doesn't mean that you should, because these niches, as we've established, they are massive. Like, lots of people are publishing in them, so you do have to do something better, or at least on par with some of the best books in those niches. Okay, so design 2 should be your bare minimum when it comes to creating these type of books. Okay, you do need to put some thought into having them made. So if you don't have the money, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you've spent a lot of money on the cover, of course it's going to be good. Like, yes, like, that's what I do. Like, that's what I want to shoot for, is to have like a really high quality product made. But you know, it's not going to be for everyone. So what I would recommend, that if you're going the route where you're creating the book in Canva, what I would recommend that you do is look at to other websites for getting your fonts and then bringing them into Canva, because having a good font on your book is going to make a huge difference to the overall aesthetic. So one thing that you could do here, if you're going to be creating your book covers in Canva, is to use somewhere like Creative Fabrica. Take their fonts, import them into Canva, and start using them with your designs. I think you can get, I think the first month is $1 for Creative Fabrica, and then the other months are like $22 or something. I can't remember. There's going to be a link in the description if you want to use Creative Fabrica. Otherwise, you can just use the ones that are in Canva. But, you know, the better the font, the better the cover is going to look. Okay, so that's the different type of quality that you can expect when it comes to the different ways that you can have your book cover created. Now, I know what some people are thinking here, and they're probably thinking, well, you spent a lot of money already, sort of close to possibly $100 on this project already. You're going to have a hard time making that back. And the thing is, like, I know Christmas is fast approaching. I'm not necessarily looking to cash in on things this Christmas. Like every book that I release, I want it to have life on Amazon for not just months but for years. So to put things into perspective for you, I've got books from 10 years ago that are still making some sales. Okay, so granted it's like $10 to $20 a month from those books, but the fact is, like, a good book will stick around on Amazon for a long time. So this initial release and everything that we're doing is to try and, is to try and make that sort of long-term income, isn't it? Because you think of it this way, that you don't want to have to keep on creating low content books every single month. Like, do you want to do that for the rest of your life, or do you want to sort of get in to these bigger niches and stick around? Okay, so let me just show you something when it comes to the longevity of a seasonal book like this. So if we just come back over to Amazon and we're going to search for Christmas words, search for adults. Again, I've actually got my extension up and we can see the BSR has dropped here again. So it looks like we're getting some organic sales on that as well, which is great. So if we come to a book that was released possibly a few years ago, not this one. If we can see one that's been released for a while, maybe this one here from 2021. Let's take a look at this one here. So for these type of books, like, I like to check the historic data to see how they did like last year as well. So I'm just using, I think this is Helium 10. You don't need this, but this is what I kind of do just to make sure that, there's a big possibility that next year I'm going to get a huge spike of sales, and it'll be even bigger than last year, because hopefully next year I'm going to have reviews on the book. So for these type of books, you can always see, like, like this one here, for example, it absolutely tanks during a couple months here, and it makes some really good sales, and again drops down here, makes some really good sales as well. Just to do one more check here before this gets too boring for people watching this. Maybe I'll try and find a book that's got less reviews on it. Computer's being very slow, but I think we're going to pick on, I just need to see what date they're all released. I'll pick one from 2021 perhaps. 2019, let's try that one there. Okay, so this book's been around for a while. I think this is possibly not independently published. I'm not sure it is. Okay, so we'll check the historic data to see how it was doing a few years ago. And as you can see, it's got these dips as well. So dips during Q4, dips during Q4, dips during Q4, and it's going to dip during Q4 here again now. Okay, so I'm trying to think of every book that I create in this way. It could be a case of the book doesn't make any sales, it just dies off and it's just not what customers are looking for. That's the reality. Okay, but we're doing everything we can to increase our chance of having a book like this that just sticks around for a long time. Okay, so hopefully that's making sense and why I'm happy to actually invest into this publishing business. Okay, so speaking of investing, now obviously we had to create the interior for the book. Now I've gone ahead and used some software to do that. If you're interested in the software, you can check it out from the description below. And one of the reasons why I don't ever mind buying software that's a kind of like a one-time purchase type of software is because you have it for the rest of your publishing days. So this is one that I bought, I think it's close to 2 years ago. Used it a ton and didn't really use it after that. And then I had the motivation to create word searches all of a sudden. And it's been pretty good to use. So basically what I've done is I've taken it from the software itself, the word searches, downloaded them, imported them into Canva, and then just decorated it with some of these graphics here that you can see. Okay, so on top of that, these type of things that we're doing, these little touches like adding these graphics and the sleigh here and stuff like that. We want to try and add something that other people aren't doing. So not just adding things for the sake of it, we're adding things to try and stand out. Okay, so when you add more to your book, you have more to show off in your A+ content as well. And on top of that, I put like a few facts in as well at the bottom of each page. Again, I don't think other people were doing that, and that's something, of course, again, you can advertise in your A+ content or in the title of your book. Okay, and so on top of that, I don't know if I touched on this earlier in the video or not, but I actually for the most part, I went and so I created the sections, the different Christmas sections, like Christmas food here, for example, and then just thought up the words. I know what a lot of people do is that they take the word list from online, but I think you're going to end up with a lot of, especially if you're trying to do like a specific theme like Christmas, you're going to end up with a lot of repetitive words. Like I think I have a couple in this word search, but for the most part, this is all Christmas themed. And so I think of the theme, then just write down into a notepad, write down the word associated with that theme. And it takes a little bit of time, but I think it's worth it, because in this case, like, a lot of complaints on other people's word searches, Christmas ones, was that they weren't Christmas related. So that's what people are looking for when they buy a Christmas word search, not just random words, but things that have a Christmas theme to them. So obviously that spent a bit longer, but everything that we're doing is we want to spend a bit longer. We want to slow down, take our time and create something a little bit better than what's out there. Okay, so that's a pretty good look at the book itself and what's gone into creating it. But there's a bigger picture that we need to look at here, and that is the whole strategy of launching this book, trying to get on the first page and making sales, picking the right keyword, etc., etc. Okay, so this is something, like I say, I've spent a long time trying to explain to people, but I think it is one for a bigger project that when I've got more time to actually get this across to people the way that I want to. So I think in this section of the video, what I'm going to do is try and summarize this so that it doesn't get too confusing. Okay, so we need to start somewhere with our strategy, and that revolves around finding niches that have got sales going to them. Okay, so the search term that I was interested in getting ranked for was Christmas word search for adults. Okay, so the first thing that I do anytime I'm searching for a keyword phrase, if I think it's got traffic going to it, I have to talk about that in another video. But if I think it's got traffic going to it, all I'm doing is checking that the BSRs are consistently low on the first page. Okay, I don't really overthink like the search results or how many reviews the other books have got or when they were released or anything like that. Really, just to keep it really simple for the sake of this, just check that the BSRs are low across the board. Okay, so obviously you can see these ones are pretty low here. I tend to look for books that are sort of consistently under 200,000 and some that are really low, like under 10,000, like this one here. Okay, so we've dropped down again. I'm actually recording this the next day from the other time that I showed at the BSR, so it's dropped a little bit overnight, which is great. But yeah, it looks like they're all pretty consistently low already, so that's a good enough sign that there is buyer traffic going to this keyword phrase here that I searched for. Okay, so the second step of the strategy is to understand your target audience. Okay, so I figured here that since this is for adults and seniors to enjoy during Christmas, that maybe they're going to be looking for something kind of wholesome and warm feeling, and that would be the best way to present the book. So I looked at everyone else's books and they were kind of, I think some of them are quite nice, but some of them are really bland, and you would not assume like books like this are aimed toward adults. And what a lot of people are doing is creating, when they create books in Canva, they kind of come out looking like they should be for children. So that's why I decided to hire someone for this one, because it kind of gives that that sort of wholesome feel to it. That's the thought process anyway. Okay, so the next step was making something unique or adding something that the competition doesn't have. Okay, so for me, when I looked through all these other books on the first page, like, there's some pretty poppy covers here. They look pretty good, but I never saw anyone really doing anything like this that looks kind of fully illustrated like that. So that was one of the ways that I wanted to stand out. One of the other ways was to include facts inside the book as well, and then have the interior looking better than other people's as well. Okay, so the next big factor here was niching down. Okay, so this is something people go absolutely crazy over. I've done it myself. It gets really confusing as to how to niche down, what to niche down to, and people go mental with this. Like, they try and enter into these really big hot niches like this, but then they go super specific with the niche itself. So they may end up making things like Christmas word search for women, large print, 50 and over, or something crazy like that. Okay, to the point where you're niching down to an audience that maybe doesn't exist. And for me, if you're going to enter into these big niches, then you want sort of some broad traffic going to your book, right? Which, Christmas word search for adults, that's pretty broad. But the thing here is that it's not too broad. Okay, so it has a theme and a specific audience. That's what I tend to go for when I'm niching down, is the theme, which is Christmas, and then the audience, which is for adults. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And I found that doing things this way, that kind of keeps you in a very competitive category where people are obviously, lots of people are searching for these type of books, but you're not going so specific that the audience doesn't exist anymore, if that makes sense. Okay, so to summarize that, word search on it, just creating a word search is too broad. So creating a Christmas word search, we have the theme there, Christmas, but again, it's still too broad as well. I want to sort of target the audience better. So Christmas word search for adults was what I decided to end up with. Okay, so after that, you want to confirm. Okay, so after that, you want to confirm that the niche has got traffic going to it. Okay, so we already looking at the low BSRs across the board here, okay? But there's just a couple other things that I look for as well. Now, there's a lot of confusion as to what people should have as the title for their book. So once I find a keyword phrase that I think has got traffic going to it, like this, that will be what the title of my book is going to be, okay? Just to keep things really simple. If I heavily suspect that people are searching for Christmas word search for adults, then that's going to be the title for my book, okay? I don't try and overcomplicate things. And I do believe that there is some weight involved. There is some importance put onto the title of your book, okay? So you need to keep in mind that when you're niching down, when you're looking for these different keywords and whatnot, there's not a tool at the moment that exists that will tell you how much traffic is going to a certain keyword phrase. I know that there's a lot of like BookBolt and Helium 10 and Publisher Rocket, or whatever they're called. I know a lot of them give an estimation, but that's just an estimation. It is not Amazon's data, so no one really knows how much traffic is going to it. But you can give yourself that peace of mind by doing a couple of things. And like we say, one of them was checking that the BSRs are low after you search for your term. The other way that I like to do things is just to come up to the search bar after I've typed in the main keyword that I'm going for, Christmas word search for adults. I like to check, so I'm using AMZ Suggestion Expander. I like to check that the search results here bring back other variations, okay? So Christmas word search for adults. And as you can see, people are searching for large print, for seniors, brain games, and other types of variation, okay? So again, my thought process here is that if people are searching for more than just Christmas word search for adults, it must mean that there's traffic going to it, if that makes sense, okay? So on top of that, I would then maybe use some software to confirm that it thinks it's got traffic going to this keyword as well. So you could plug this into Helium 10, AMZ Scout, or anything like that, and just see if it comes back with like more than 700 or 800 search results a month. Pinch of salt, you don't need to do that, but it might give you that peace of mind that the keyword / title that you're going for is going to be optimal for your book, okay? So taking these things that I've just said into consideration regarding creating the title for your book, this is what I consider the niche and the title, okay? So what I've found is that when I start running ad campaigns to the book, even if I get one or two sales from an ad campaign, even if it's not directly from this keyword. So I think I had a sale from something like, I can't remember what it was. It was like Christian word finds or something. It wasn't this keyword. So what I found is that once I get a couple sales, it pretty much, and this has happened 100% of the times in my last like 10 books, it'll pretty much boost you onto the front page. Okay, so that's the power of running the ads to your book early on, is that once you do get the sales, it will boost you. Okay, so just to show you what I mean by that is, so on the UK store here, I was nowhere to be found for like 4 or 5 days for the search term Christmas word search for adults. And then I started running ad campaigns to it, and I managed to get, I think it was one sale. And then the next day when Amazon sort of updated, it showed up onto the first page. I don't know if we're still here on the first page on .co.uk. So that running that ad campaign or running those ad campaigns, just getting 1 or 2 sales, it boosted it onto the front page. Okay, and since it boosts us for this keyword, the one that we're using as our title, we end up on the front page for a search term that we think has got traffic going to it. So hopefully this is making sense. It is something I do need to explain in more detail another date, but that's the theory, okay? And that's the importance of getting the keyword right, getting your audience right, creating a good book, and then running ad campaigns to it, okay? Okay, so just to touch upon the longevity of this book and what, some kind of theory here, but what I want to happen going forward is that obviously I want to stay on this front page. Okay, so I'm happy to pay the ad campaigns to get boosted onto this front page, and then hopefully over time what I'm going to be doing is either turning them off or just reducing them, like turning a few off or optimizing them over time, just so that I'm at least breaking even with the ad campaigns, and then the organic traffic from our placement is going to make us those sales on top of that. Okay, so one of the other things that I want to happen as well, and what I've noticed with my other books, is once we're up here ranked quite well for a competitive term, is we're going to start showing up on those little those carousels where people bought this, also bought those sections. We start showing up in that. And what I've also noticed, especially with this book, is that once we kind of carve out that sort of little niche that we went for, we went for the Christmas word search for adults was the niche, right? Once we sort of get involved in that and start getting the sales from that, what I've found with this book and other books is that you start getting placed better for even broader terms as well. So I'll show you what I mean for that. So this is the search results for Christmas word search for adults. Okay, so that's originally what we targeted, that's what we went after, and that's what we got. Okay, so we're starting to get some sales from being placed for this one. But like I say, what I've noticed is that I'm actually being ranked for a broader term, like Christmas word search here. So obviously Christmas word search on its own is going to be incredibly hard to get on the front page for, I think. But what I've actually noticed is that I have turned up somewhere on this page as well. This toward the bottom, yeah, a little bit toward the bottom, which is fine. But I would never expect to get ranked for this search term otherwise. But that's the power, I think, of it all. You kind of get the ball rolling, and then you end up all over Amazon getting sales from different directions, including your ad campaigns, which again you want to optimize over time. I think with this one, what I'm going to do is turn them off quite quickly because I want to make money for it this year as well. I'm not, I said I was thinking about next year, but realistically, I want money for this book this year. And I think I can do that if I just turn it off and let it roll, maybe from the start of November, and then up the price, obviously, to sort of a competitive price, which I think is probably, we could go $7.99 if we're feeling like we could go $8.99. $6.99 is realistic as well. I think I might go for $7.99 for this one. I'm not quite sure, which gives the $2.50 profit. I think just under. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, obviously I'm not going to keep it at $3.99. That would be crazy. But yeah, getting that ball, dropping the price, getting the ball rolling, getting yourself all over the place on Amazon, is good for long-term sales, obviously. Okay, so that's pretty much everything summarized. I know it's been a sort of shortest video for what I'm trying to show off, but that's the point of it all. So hopefully it's giving you some idea as to what kind of, I will say, what works basically. And I feel like what I'm doing is pretty simple, but it's working almost every book that I put out there for getting ranked on the first pages. Obviously, you have to have a good quality book. Now, I think it's very hard to understand what quality is, so that's the reason why I started creating videos like this to actually show off some of the books that I'm creating. Okay, so you can see the type of quality. You might think it's terrible, but people are buying it, and that's the main thing. Okay, so going forward, just to touch upon this very quickly, what I would like to happen, what I plan to do, is to try and hit more seasonal niches with more activity books, more coloring books, maybe something toward Valentine's Day next year, to make sure that I have something ready for Thanksgiving, something ready for Halloween, and another probably a Christmas coloring book or something, and then just see what other events there are throughout the year. I don't know if there's that many significant events that would get you a boost of sales, but toward Q4 it's you can potentially make a lot of money from having those seasonal niches, right? And I think on top of that, it would be great to start producing a brand, and that's what I've been doing with the coloring books that I've created. So I think if anyone's been following me religiously lately, you know that I keep talking about case studies, bigger and better case studies than this one, basically to do with coloring books. With those, I'm trying to create a brand out of them. I've got a website going for it. I'm trying to capture emails. Those two books are going incredibly well at the moment. One of them got down to, I think, 7,000 on the US store, which is the lowest book I've ever had. It's just 2 books, coloring books for adults. But yeah, that's something that I would look toward doing for activity books as well, is building a brand. And what I found is that a lot of, even if I don't have an author central page for these books, people will buy these books together because of they can just go onto the author name and see what other books you have. So when you create something good, people will go and look for your other books as well, and they'll buy them together, which is great. So yeah, everything that I'm doing at the moment is kind of my new approach to publishing. It's what makes sense. It's what's going to be viable for as long as KDP exists, basically. And I think I've had well over 500 sales from just those 2 coloring books in the last 2 weeks, maybe just over 2 weeks. So and the theory behind those coloring books is what I'm doing for this book as well. It's what I did for the notebooks, which are sold about 400 copies overall, maybe a little bit more. It's the same approach for every single book. Okay, it's working like clockwork. Yeah, so I hope that this gives you some direction going forward. as to what is actually working and increasing your chances of making sales. Because I find, and just to touch upon something really quickly, is that a lot of people talk about this like the 20-80 or the 80-20, whatever they call it, that rule where it's 20% of your books will sell. I think it's really misleading the way that it's worded, because it makes it sound like if you just pump out a load of books that 20% of them are guaranteed to sell. So I think what it means is that 20% of your books will make 80% of your income, as opposed to it being guaranteed sales, if that makes sense. So I think people hear things like that and they just start cranking out books and hope that the volume is going to work, where realistically I'm actually at around the last sort of 15 books I think that I've created, it's probably closer to like 90% of those books are actually making sales. But whether they make up like 80% of the total sales, I'm not sure yet. But that's the power of creating a good book, right? Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you in another video very soon.